You're listening to the AfterBuzz TV network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Keith. Johnson.
From the AfterBuzz Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies. This is AfterBuzz TV's Hart of Dixie After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AfterBuzz TV's Hart of Dixie After Show.
We need Whitney here for the country music tonight. Of course, she's missing again. But welcome back, everyone. This is another Hart of Dixie After Show. This is Season 3, Episode 5, titled How Do You Like Me Now? I'm your host, Christine Archer, and these are my co-hosts.
Hi, guys. I'm Michelle Renee.
And I am Paige Sullivan.
So we're going to start off at the very beginning of the show with what I guess is now like a love diamond. It was a love triangle with Zoe, George, and Wade. Now we have Joel thrown into the mix. So Zoe's now trying to be friends with George again because he hasn't been very happy with her, I guess, really since the beginning of the season when she first went to his hotel room and found him a complete mess in his hotel. They really haven't talked much at all in the last few episodes.
I think that's a good thing. When exes break up, I think some people need that space apart. They need you to just leave them alone. He's had his heart broken. I wouldn't say 3 times because he left a lemon at the altar, but 3 relationships that have failed. He just needs like alone time.
But I think he also needs to man up and stop blaming Zoe for the fact that he and Tansy's relationship didn't work.
I agree.
Because, I mean, he made the decision to kind of go after Zoe, and that's why it didn't really work. So that's not Zoe's fault that she's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. And I think the weird thing about this whole situation now is that they weren't even really together. And even when they like sort of got together at the end of the last season, it was kind of out of nowhere. I didn't see it coming, at least. It kind of, I don't know, I think we all agreed that by the middle really of season 2, there was just no chemistry whatsoever between Zoe and Wade. And so now to have this kind of like turn back into a thing kind of, it's a little weird.
I don't see it as a thing. I honestly don't see it really as a love anything. I see her with Joel, and Wade really hasn't made any moves, and he hasn't tried to, get her to leave Joel, and George doesn't even have any interest in Zoe. He's just mad at her. So in terms of like a love triangle or love square, diamond, whatever you would call it, I don't think the love part exists right now. I think for us fans who have seen the love triangle in the past, that's how we view it, but right now the only person who loves Zoe is Joel.
I agree with the George statement. I think, and we might get into this a little bit later, but Wade made a comment. Yeah, and Wade made a comment to Zoe when Joel was drunkenly ziplining in the wilderness.
Right.
Basically, saying like, it sucks because everyone else is actually wrong here because you're still in love with me.
But do you find that, I mean, I know his defense mechanism is always to tease her anyways, and he did that the whole first season before they were together. So we know Wade still loves her, but I don't think anything's happening right now there. I think that was more like a playful, friendly thing.
I mean, I disagree. I don't think anything's actively happening because I think she's trying so hard to not make them happen, if that makes sense. I mean, everything she does is to try to like boost up her boyfriend Joel and to try to keep her feelings for Wade, at bay.
So do you think she's like forcing herself to make Joel into the person she needs him to be so that she doesn't get with Wade?
So she doesn't get with Wade, so she doesn't think about Wade, so she doesn't focus on all of the great characteristics that she misses about him and all that jazz.
Right.
And I think in the next couple of episodes, because really we haven't seen much between even Zoe and Wade in the past, for the beginning of this season. He kind of just backed off at the very beginning, didn't really say much to her, and we kind of see him like joke with her every now and then, but that's about it. So I think that the comment that was made tonight might kind of be setting us up for something to happen in the future. And this is also really the first... granted, she's had her issues with Joel all of season 3 so far, but I think this is the first time that she's really saying, like, why doesn't Bluebell like you? Why aren't they, as into this relationship as I am? And I think it might kind of be setting us up for something in the next maybe 2-3 episodes before the break where Wade will come back. I think George is done, but I think Wade will come back into the picture.
Oh, yeah. I think George is definitely done. They've beat that, But I feel like it's hard to expect a town who doesn't know Joel to fall in love with him and want them to be together when they know about George and they know about Wade. And I think that's kind of what they showed this episode. Nobody knows Joel or what he's like or what he's capable of. So the fact that they made Bluebell like him now, I feel like he's going to stick around for longer than any of us anticipated. I feel like I say that every after show, but I feel like his arc is getting longer and longer. And now, unless it's going to be the people fall in love with Joel and then Zoe upsets them by breaking up with him. But I don't foresee it happening for a while. I
mean, I think just Zoe's problem, I don't know if I would call it a problem, but one of the issues that her character deals with that repeatedly gets her into trouble is this need for kind of like, what's the word?
She needs people to approve.
This need for approval. And it's just like, if you really like this guy, Joel, then what does it matter if the town does or doesn't like him? And that's what I think it goes back to. The reason why she wants them to like Joel is so she'll have an excuse in her head to get over Wade.
To kind of justify her decision
to
not stay with Wade. And that's true. I mean, we talked about this a lot last season and in season 1 as well. Her big issue is getting approval from people. Even in season 1, when she first came to Alabama, her whole issue was she thought people were going to look down on her for being this like small town doctor and not staying in New York and doing the big city thing. And I think she struggled with that in terms of her relationship with Wade as well. The whole issue was even her mom, I think, when we went back to season 2, her mom saying, "Oh, you're dating the bartender," and so she felt kind of ashamed of that. And I think she's kind of dealing with similar feelings with Joel this season. But what did you guys think about the poll on Dash's website?
I feel like being in a small town, I can understand where everybody has a say in everything you do and they all have an opinion. And the poll, I mean, it's funny, it's laughable, but you can't take it too seriously. You have people, Dash is the one who runs these things. And when you look at what that poll was in the running with, I don't remember what the other poll was, but it wasn't of significance. So I mean, I think it's funny. I don't think it's anything to get worked up over.
Yeah. And it's just like small towns to create drama and gossip where there really isn't. And I think that's one of those situations. Like, there's not really a story here. But, I mean, I guess they picked the right couple to pick on because obviously it got Zoe, concerned and it, created the storyline for the show.
And they definitely do need drama. Even the little girls at the tween camp were like, we haven't had anything as dramatic as Lemon and George's wedding. So they're constantly feeding off of that drama and holding on to it and reliving it.
Yeah.
So
that was so weird. It was like a bunch of 13-year-olds making some like soap opera in their head.
But that's what you do when you're 13. That's what I did when I was 13.
I didn't do that when I was 13. I don't think I was that crazy.
When I was 13,
that one girl was like Miss Queen Bee there and just knew everything.
Right. I feel like the problem is that their parents are when I was a kid, my parents were telling me about the people who got left at the altar. Nobody told me that. So I feel like in Bluebell, everybody's talking, everybody's warning each other about the person and their drama. So these kids are just feeding off of what the adults are saying. So it just shows how that small town vibe really affects all the layers of the community.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah. And we kind of skipped past a lot of things, but going back to the beginning, kind of, Zoe's trying to teach Joel to drive a car. Why? I don't really get it. I guess she just wants him to be a member of the community and everyone there drives. I don't know. It was very weird.
He's taking cabs, which it doesn't make sense in a town like Bluebell. But my one...
Walk.
Right. Places. How far is it, to get around Bluebell? The only place I understand is Mobile, maybe.
Everything is like a stone's throw away.
We've seen Zoe in a car twice. In the whole show.
And that's when she's leaving Bluebell.
Or going somewhere.
Right.
Yeah. But I just found it very frustrating to me that Joel, he was standing up for himself, but at the same time he wasn't. He's like, shut that car off. Shut that car off. It's like, you shut it off.
Right. If you don't want to drive the car, get out of the car.
Get out of the car.
She's not just making you sit there. Well, he proceeds to drive into the Reverend's car because apparently he can't even keep the car in park. I don't know. But basically the Reverend decides as a trade-off, if he and his wife can go have a romantic evening getaway, then Zoe and Joel, at least he thinks Zoe and Joel, have to go to wilderness camp. What was it called? Wilderness, tween camp. Wilderness camp. I don't know. It sounds terrible and not like something that I would want to chaperone.
Adventure camp.
Tween adventure camp. Mm-hmm. Apparently everyone in Bluebell's been, because Wanda said that
the girls were real mean there.
They were kind of mean. They were scary. But yeah, so Joel refuses to go because apparently he hates camping and heights. I think heights is his biggest thing. But What did you guys kind of think of that whole scenario with Wilderness? I don't know. It was a little excessive.
I didn't mind the camp, but I'm glad he stuck up for himself and didn't go.
Yeah.
I just think that it was too many schemes this episode for me to try to keep up with. Like, Lynly is still scheming a little bit or coming off of a scheme.
Mm-hmm.
Zoe is scheming with Joel. With Joel, Wade, and everybody in the Reverend. And Meatball is scheming. Who else? Lemon is scheming.
Cricket and her
like,
bells.
can anyone just have like a straight up, like, this is
No.
how I feel, this is what I want to happen, would you mind doing this for me? It always has to be so like undercover.
That would be too
And
easy.
under-
They get bored. They need something to entertain themselves.
I
in
mean,
Blue
but
Bell.
4 schemes in one episode, like, sheesh.
Yeah, it's a lot.
There was also a lot of sex talk this episode,
There
like with
was.
Wanda and Tom and
Reverend.
the Reverend.
and his wife.
I was under the impression the Reverend was like Brick's age for some reason. I felt like they were pals, but the Reverend has like infant twins,
Oh, yeah,
which I
that's true.
found.
That was
I was
weird.
like, waited until later in life to have children.
Yeah. I mean, to each
You
their
talk
own,
about
right?
sex a lot to be a Reverend.
Yeah,
making out with
that's-
your wife at the
that is
bar.
true. But they had a great time. We saw when they got back, so good for them, I guess. Whatever.
Mhm.
But yeah, so Wilderness Camp happens. They end up. The Reverend talks George into going. How he talked George into going when
Because George likes the
he felt bad.
Reverend.
That's true. He felt bad not letting him have his evening alone, I guess. But
And it's good boy George, or whatever. What do they call him in the town?
Well, they're like
Golden boy George.
Golden
Yeah.
boy.
Mhm.
Golden boy George.
They all say he's the best guy around. He's the nicest guy. So, George Tucker, and nobody calls him George. It's always George Tucker.
George Tucker. First last name.
That's totally how it goes.
Yeah.
I feel like if you think of that stand-up, admirable
Yeah.
guy in your hometown,
It's George Tucker.
he's on a first and last name basis.
That's true. It's
Yeah.
more, much like a dominant name.
The only
almost,
time they
kind
say
of.
Wade Kinsella is when he did something bad. It's like I heard Wade Kinsella slept with my girlfriend in last episode.
Yeah.
So
That's true. Well, I guess so. They go to Wilderness Camp, and instead of going to the camp, Joel decides to go get drunk at like 2 p.m. I don't really know what that was about.
what else is there to do? I mean,
Write your book or something. Doesn't he have a job?
I think he's a wealthy writer. I think he's extremely
Maybe.
wealthy from his other books. That's the impression I've got. And I also wonder, they're living in a new home. It doesn't look like the motel anymore. Where are they living?
They didn't really address that.
No.
I don't know.
Because
Didn't we
somebody,
decide maybe they upgraded to a bed and breakfast or something.
I don't
but,
know.
Like, they're not
Maybe
in a
they
house.
upgraded to a suite, and they're
It's
not.
I
tiny.
think it's just a nicer room in the same hotel because
because it's not her old room.
no, because Lynly's living in her old room.
Right. So
A little confusing, but I don't know. So Joel shows up drunkenly. Wade like DD'd him there because he thought that was a good idea.
Well,
apparently.
it all sparked because Dash decided to. Well, Dash was telling Lynly the story of why George Tucker is so damaged, and Joel just happened to hear the story of Zoe and George, and which sparked his second act of Zoe's love life. Or he doesn't want to be the second act; he wants to be the third act.
Yeah. Well, he is about to be out of the play altogether, if you ask me. So,
In Christine's opinion.
in my opinion. But yeah, and we already kind of said Wade made that comment once. Joel, I couldn't think of his name. Joel was ziplining through the woods. I'm surprised he didn't fall, or at least didn't hurt himself too badly. He got stuck up there, but
I don't know how
He
he
did
gets
okay for
stuck.
himself.
I feel like he just
I
had
think,
to
he
let
just wouldn't
go.
I think he wouldn't let go. I think
Let
that was,
go.
Like what?
like Titanic. I'll never let go.
I'll never let go, Jack.
Can they have this kid like excel at something?
No.
Like writing. That's the
the
only
point,
thing.
though. I
It's
think
like,
they just
I
don't
know
want
it
him
is,
to.
and it's so sad because
I know.
But I'm learning to like him. I don't know.
No.
I personally do. I like him and I like Wade. George, I find very whiny right now. I feel like he's poor me. I think that's what this whole episode was about, him getting over it. But it was very much, you ruined my life. You did this. You did that. You're a grown man. You're a lawyer. You know how to make decisions and to analyze them and make good choices.
Yeah.
And you chose not to.
Yeah.
It's not that I dislike Joel individually as a person, but I just feel like when he's juxtaposed with Zoe, and then when that's juxtaposed with the other relationships she's had with the other men, it just makes me dislike him.
Right.
But individually, he's okay. He's not a bad guy. I'm sure he would be a nice neighbor to have.
Right. If he was a reoccurring character and he wasn't Zoe's boyfriend, I
Then
would
he'd
like
be great.
him.
Exactly.
But I think he's also just not very fitting for Zoe in particular. I think maybe if we saw him with maybe even like we all love Tom, I think, but if he was with Wanda or someone like that who kind of has more of a quirky personality, I guess, I think it might be better. I think it's just with Zoe, it doesn't make any sense.
But none of it makes sense with Zoe. You know, the person she made sense with was George, but the person we all wanted to be with is Wade, which doesn't make sense really in terms of writing it down on paper. I think Joel makes more sense than Wade. He's a successful writer. He's a New Yorker. He gets her. Like she says, they have the same kind of sense of humor. And I think religion, because neither of them go to church. And he said it was his first mass, so she's Jewish. I'm assuming he was Jewish. Just an assumption. But they have a lot in
Mass
common.
Jewish?
No. He said he went to his first mass when the Reverend said that love thy neighbors thing. At the end of this episode, he went to his first mass.
Okay.
He said, "Good job, Reverend. It's the first one I've seen."
Okay.
And she said what she said. She was like, "Mazel tov."
Yeah,
so,
she did.
I
Okay,
don't
so
know.
they're Jewish.
Yeah, so I'm assuming they're both Jewish, but I just feel like now on paper they make sense, and it no longer has to be George. Joel's the guy who makes sense for her
On paper, yes.
on paper.
In real life, not at all.
But she's
I don't-
quirky too. I don't know why you.
She's quirky,
I
but
mean,
not Joel's type of quirky, I don't think. In my opinion, at least.
Yeah.
She's not.
Jonah, what happened to him?
Well, he landed a different
He kinda
pilot.
made sense a little
A
bit.
little.
He made sense until he got on another show.
And then
with
had to
the-
leave,
He had to leave.
Yeah, and he had to leave. I mean, we lost a lot of people this season. We lost Magnolia and Shelby and Jonah.
Rose.
Rose, she's there,
She was there for a
on
second.
and off, and so I don't know.
We'll have to see what happens.
That storyline probably would have gone somewhere if he didn't book the other show. I'm thinking.
That's true. Because they did, yeah, it was kind of, I mean, it was convenient that she went to New York and they could kind of just leave him there and never have him come back if they didn't want
He's
to. I
going to come
guess.
back.
I think he'll
One
definitely
day.
come back.
Maybe. If there's
Just
something
even-
with Brick or
Even just like a
Lemon.
small role for
That's
like one
true.
episode.
for an episode, I can see it. Well, let's talk about George and Lynly, who was back this episode. In my opinion, okay, I agree, but I think she
No.
was less annoying this episode than she was before.
I find her more annoying. I find the way she acts to be very childish. She's like, "Oh, you like me? Oh, you think I'm funny?
But she is
oh,
a
I'm
child.
sad." She's 25 years old. She's not
Isn't
a
she younger than
child.
that?
No,
No.
they said she was 25, which is what blows my mind because I feel like she acts like a high schooler.
She does, and that's true. I was thinking she was younger for some reason, but I think compared to George, and just in terms of life experience, like she's studying for, or was going to study for the LSAT. He's been a lawyer for how many years now? You know, like she, I think, is still kind of immature and young, and doesn't really seem like she's had a job. She's living with her.
Even the way she says, "My parents sent me here to have some good, clean fun." It's like when you're 25, why are your parents sending you places? And
Yeah.
I mean,
I think that number one, they make a cute couple together. Like whenever they're like sitting in the little bar playing the little trivia game or whatever, I was like, oh, they look nice beside each other. And while they're not really the best couple, it's like have fun with Mr. Right till you find have fun with Mr. Wrong till you find Mr. Right. And neither one of them really have anyone else better right now. So why not? YOLO.
YOLO, I agree, YOLO for like hooking up and stuff. I don't want to see a relationship. I feel like, especially after getting out of a relationship with Lemon and then the Zoe thing and the Tansy thing, maybe George should just be single. Just like Lynly said, why is George Tucker suck so bad at relationships? It's because he's never not been in a relationship. He doesn't know what to do.
It's been a while
while,
since
yeah.
Tansy. Yeah, it's been a while.
We say like
Well, I
6
guess Tansy,
months or
you're right.
7 months.
That's true, and he jumped to Tansy pretty quickly after Lemon
Or Zoe.
/ Zoe.
Zoe.
And then he went on the road, and like he wasn't facing reality for a while. I don't know. He said he was on the road for like a month or something. So I just feel like George should be single, and if he's not single, he should just be hooking up with her and not dating her.
But he knows that's, I mean, Levon.
Well, he
that's
won't
not gonna
do it.
work.
George wouldn't. I mean, if anything, it has to be a relationship, and that's what they're setting it up to be.
And
Yeah, they're
she's
definitely
pushing for
setting it
that.
up to be.
She's and
Yeah, what did she say?
Quote at the end. What
Yeah.
did she say? I'm going to wear him
Wear
down.
you down.
Okay, Lynly. Best of luck with that. But like,
She
I
seems
don't. She's a little
desperate.
It's
Like,
a little intense.
pushy.
that her immaturity I can deal with because there's a lot of people on the show that are a little immature and kind of quirky, but her desperation, especially because those two things don't go together. Like being immature and naive don't go with being like a harlot that's like throwing yourself on
Well,
this
that's the thing.
man.
You're acting immature, but then you show up and try and seduce him, and then you tell him you're going to wear him down.
Yeah,
Look,
I
you're-
don't like that.
You have to pick one or the other for us to like you. I feel like having two, kind of crappy qualities makes it harder for people to like her. And I thought she was dropping the act this episode because she was acting a little bit more mature and she was playing the trivia and laying off the whole trying to date him. But the minute they're alone, she's like, oh, well, I'm going to wear you down. Like,
That's true. Yeah, and I guess
Tell us how you really feel.
when I say she's less annoying this episode, I guess I meant for that small period of time where she was
the beginning.
acting like a
beginning,
normal
yeah.
person for like a second, not all over George. I was like, oh, okay, maybe, you know, she wasn't in the last episode. So I was like, maybe she had her week or however long she was away, you know, separate from George and separate from Levon, and kind of came back with a different attitude towards the whole thing. But then, like you said, we saw the second that they were alone together, she's back at the same thing she was before.
I feel like the characters on this show were set up to dislike them, and then they evolve over time and we like them more. I feel maybe for me with like Lemon, we didn't like her. We didn't approve of the things she did, but now she's one of my favorite characters. She's one of the most normal, down-to-earth characters on this show that I feel like I can relate to. And I think they're doing the same thing with Joel and same thing with Lynly. We don't like them, and I think they're wearing us down so that we learn to like them and enjoy their qualities and their storylines.
Yeah, I don't know if I mean, Lemon is a main character, so I feel like they had to do that with her. But with these two people, I don't know. With these two characters, I don't think that they're.
I don't know. I
doing
feel like
that.
they did lose people. You know, they lost Magnolia and Shelby and Jonah, who did play significant. They weren't, you know, the stars of the show, but they played significant roles, and they're gone now. So there has to be some sort of conflict or people that we're either rooting for or against. So I don't know if we'll love them, but I feel like they'll develop more before we completely write them off.
I could see myself definitely being more. I mean, they're not really against each other, so it's not team one or the other. But in terms of who I can see growing more as a character that I like, I would say Lynly versus Joel.
I agree. I think
Team Lynly.
I mean, it's kind of like picking, I don't know, pick the best of the worst, I
You know,
guess,
it's
in
like,
this case.
yeah.
But do you guys think that, because I think, Michelle, you last week said you think that there will be some, did you say a relationship between George and Lynly, or just something will happen? Or am I confusing?
No, I said that.
I think
I did
Michelle
say
said
that. No, I think that they're going to have a relationship.
I
do.
agree. They're setting it up like that. That's
Yeah,
the
they
way
are.
it looks.
And I called it before this episode.
You did.
She
It's
did.
always so good.
I thought, and
You are good.
you could kind of tell, like, George was sort of coming around to her a little bit. I mean, he asked her to hang out again, and then she referred to it as a date later, which at first I was like, okay, she's being her crazy self again. But then George also said to someone, I'm forgetting who it was, but he said, you know, I was supposed to have a date tonight. So the fact that they both were, I don't know, when he first asked her, he didn't really make it sound. He was like,
Yeah.
let's go throw or play darts. Like,
yeah.
He made it, he said, let's have some more good, clean fun together. So I thought maybe it was a friendship developing, but they both saw it as a date.
right.
Yeah. And I mean, even if they go into it thinking that it's a friendship, she obviously is very needy. She's demonstrated that, and George has too. So I think that just naturally they're going to become more, just because that's how their personalities are.
I feel like they're going to end up in a relationship, but for some reason I almost see Lynly moving on from George because she's young. She probably doesn't really know what she wants in life. I mean, I feel like we're all around 25 and I don't know what I want in life. So this is just a period. She was sent to live with Levon. She was sent to just kind of have some good, clean fun. This will be her figuring out her life and then leaving is what I think.
I hope so.
I mean, she's definitely not going to stick around for that long.
I hope
So
not.
I would agree.
I wouldn't think so either, but at this point, I thought Joel would have been gone, like, at
We
least
were
by
all like, oh,
episode
2
three-
episodes.
3 or 4, like, at most, and it's now episode 5 going into 6, and I don't think he's leaving anytime soon. So
I think we'll see him after the new year.
I think so too, unfortunately. Well, let's go ahead then and talk about Lemon, because she was the other big character in this episode. So she and Levon made a deal. Lemon, obviously, the last episode had this one night, not even one night stand, but this thing with Peter, who's the news producer, who of course left town conveniently. And then Levon is looking to help Blue Ball get on the cover of, what was it? Gazebos of Alabama, which apparently is a magazine there. Who knew?
Of course it is.
Because, yeah, I guess it's not surprising. So they make a deal, and Levon says that he'll help her find Peter if she will help them get on the cover.
Well, she says no when he first asks, and I feel bad because she runs into Cricket, and I always forget the other girl's name, but they are calling her boyfriend fake, and then Meatball overhears and thinks the boyfriend's fake, so he wants to win her back. But poor Lemon, she lied one time, and it's kind of like the boy who cried wolf. They're always going to think this guy's fake until they see him in the flesh. But, I mean, she's out of the bells. You made her clean the sidewalk. She's single. You guys don't like her. Why do you have to keep going after her? Especially when Cricket's supposedly one of her oldest and best
Her
friends.
good friends.
I agree. I think they've given her a little too much. She didn't even really do anything. It was kind of ridiculous that she ever got kicked out in the first place. And then now everyone's just being mean to her. But
Maybe it's just like years of torment from her that they have let build up and they never were able to say anything. So now it's their chance to like retaliate.
She has that
could be.
the power.
Yeah. You kind of saw the bells. I can't remember. I don't think we know her name, but one of the bells say when I think they like had vines in there or something.
Kudzu or kudzu.
I don't know what it was called, but whatever it was that was going to kill the flowers. And one of the girls said like this would never have happened under Lemon's reign. First of all, the fact that she said Lemon's reign is bad enough because she's not the queen. But I think they kind of see that Cricket's not necessarily the leader that Lemon was. At least
Cricket also doesn't seem to be leading. She seems to be. It seems like she's a puppeteer. They're like telling her what to do, and so she's just going with it. Whereas, Lemon was the brains behind the operation.
And even if they had to deal with her being a psycho,
she got it done.
She got things done. And she did a good job. And I think they kind of realized that in this episode. But poor Meatball. I mean, kind of poor Meatball, but also poor Lemon for having to deal with Meatball all the time. He's just like professing his love to her everywhere. Did he chain himself to the gazebo?
Yes. But that's because she told him to. The bell, I forget her name. She told Meatball, she's like, oh, if you want to get her attention, I know how. It's like you're sabotaging yourself.
That was just not a good idea. Not a good idea at all. But he does it, and in the end, he actually gets what he wants, which is a kiss from Lemon.
And they get on the cover.
So everyone's happy except for... Although, you know what? Lemon was actually really okay with it. She, seemed... When she talked to Livon, she was like, that's a great picture, and she took it pretty well.
Everybody already knows she was sleeping with him.
Yeah, I mean,
I know, that's true.
A kiss...
True, but nonetheless,
do
you really once that's out there and you try to she admitted to it, but I think past that point tried to keep her distance from Meatball. So once you do that, do you really want to give people the idea that maybe it's turning back into something or?
I don't feel bad for her though that Meatball was trying to win her back. You slept with him for months on end. You broke it off because you had to find a good man for you to marry. Mm-hmm. Any guy who gets broken up with like that or thinks he's being broken up with the love of his life is gonna fight for it.
Yeah, she's the little town princess. She's really attractive, relatively speaking, compared to Meatball. Yeah. I mean, I don't think Meatball is unattractive. I just think they present him in a grungy way. But when they clean him up, which that's one of my predictions, I already predicted a few weeks ago, but they are going to clean him up, then he'll be great. But I mean, she obviously. He holds her in such high esteem just because of who she is that I agree that it would be hard for any man to face rejection like that.
So do you guys think this Peter storyline was that it?
Yeah. For now, I think.
Yeah. They made it, I can't tell. At first, I really thought that it was going to turn into something next episode. But then when she kind of said, it was perfect the way it was, I don't want to try to recreate it. I'm not so sure, but I kind of feel like I don't think they could have just brought him in like that just for one episode.
I think it's going to be more. I think he's going to come back because why would they use 2 episodes to focus around him? Like in other instances where we've seen this kind of one-time character come in and out, they're in there for 1 episode, they leave, and we move on and have a different storyline the next week. Last week, we met him. This week, we're still talking about him. So I think they're building it up for him to come back.
I agree that he'll come back. I don't think it will be soon because the way she said it, yes, she wants to leave it be because it was a magical night. I think the point is Lemon's always forcing relationships. With George, she was forcing that marriage even when they both knew they weren't happy. And she tried to force things after that. Every guy she dates, she's looking to marry. So this is the one thing where she didn't screw it up by trying to change it and by trying to make it something more than it was. So this is her chance to kind of be the adult, take a step back, live her life, and I think he will enter again. I don't think she will pursue it.
I agree. Point. I can see that happening. I hope he comes back, though, because I think he was a good fit for Lemon.
And I like him.
Speaking. And I like him, too, yeah. Big fan of One Tree Hill.
Yeah, I was going to say, One Tree Hill.
One Tree Hill. I feel like anyone who's watched that is a big fan of Robert Buckley, right? That's his name, I think. Yeah, Robert Buckley. Should we do predictions? Sure. I'm sorry, news and gossip. I'm completely off track
news
here.
And
news
gossip.
And gossip and then
news and gossip, of course.
TV news.
Okay, well, according to fanshare.com, they have said that McKaylee Miller, who plays Rose on Heart of Dixie, is one to watch for. She not only is on Heart of Dixie, but she's been working on some other projects and is going to be appearing in an upcoming film called Wish I Was Here. She's going to be starring alongside Jim Parsons, Kate Hudson, and Ashley Greene in the Zach Braff film, which is based on a struggling father who is about 35 years old, and he's dealing with finding his purpose in life amidst his, family and struggles and all that jazz. Moving on, Ross Phillips, who is Tom Long on the show, is also working on other projects, and he has just landed a spot on Fox's mid-season sitcom. It's called Enlisted. It's an Army sitcom/comedy, so you can look out for Ross in that. And last but not least, Us Magazine had Rachel, we're on a first name basis, Rachel Bilson do an interview on the 25 things you didn't know about me. Some of the things that she said that I thought were funny and quirky, just like her character Zoe on Heart of Dixie, is that she can rap every word of Snoop Dogg's Ain't No Fun. And that is a pretty catchy song. Her number one restaurant is Benihana. So in case you want to try to, catch a photo with her or stalk her,
Eat like Rachel.
I guess you know where to find her in Los Angeles, and Benihana is a really good restaurant too. Poetic Justice was her favorite movie in 6th grade, which that's a little bit young for Poetic Justice. And last but not least, Lucille Ball is her idol. So yeah, if you want to see all 25 things, you have to head over to usmagazine.com.
I didn't know any
So
of
yeah,
this.
and that's my news and gossip. for
There
this
we
week.
go. All right, let's do predictions.
AfterBuzz TV News.
There we
And
go.
now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Okay, who has one? Any good ones?
Meatball, they're going to clean him up. That's my prediction.
Again.
She's like, round 2. They're going to do it. I think that we're not going to see Peter for a while, and Zoe and Joel are going to be in a good place next week. I don't think there's going to be any drama with that. But I don't have any serious predictions right now. I feel like everybody's kind of at a standstill. Maybe we just need an episode where there is no relationship drama and there is no friend drama, where it's just learning about the people of Bluebell. But I don't know if that's possible.
I think you're out of luck because it looks like in the preview for next week, AnnaBeth's parents are coming to town. So
Ooh, the in-laws.
That could be the almost in-laws. So that could be interesting. I think parents are always, that's a big step, and especially since we're not really sure kind of where Levon stands with their relationship after the whole proposal. Engagement / actually we're just gonna watch a movie on a big screen situation. I think it kind of left us all wondering really how serious he was about it. And to now have her parents coming to town, and you see in the previews her dad says why does he have a key to your apartment? And then she has to tell her parents that they're living together, which is potentially a very touchy subject, especially if they've never met him before. They might not have even known that they were dating. So I think that could cause, in their relationship at least, maybe some drama.
Maybe, but I do think he is serious about it, but he jumped to propose last season. And it kind of blew up in his face. I think he's hurt, and he's just taking his time. I do think he wants to marry AnnaBeth. I don't see it happening anytime soon. But prediction. I did want to say maybe Wanda will get pregnant this season, because the way her and Ross were talking about sex and the Reverend,
That's true.
maybe she'll get pregnant, and we'll get a little storyline there. Not right away. but-
Someone needs to have a baby on the show.
Yeah, definitely.
It's kind of weird. They're all of the
Yeah.
age where they should be having kids.
And that's what
but there
people
are
do
no
in
kids.
small country towns.
Right.
So that's
They should have had kids 10 years ago at this point.
Yeah, Zoe and Brooke need to start delivering some babies. We
Yeah.
need to get some action in there.
I think that would be a good twist in the storyline.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a happy
We'll have
one.
to see you next week.
All right.
Well, make sure to go to iTunes also and rate and comment and let us know what you thought of our after show today and what your predictions are for next week's episode. And in the meantime, I'm Christine Archer, and you can find me on Twitter @CArcher.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram @MichelleReneeLA.
And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram @Paige Sull.
And we'll see you guys next week.
Thanks for watching.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.